When you're scrolling through endless listings, it's easy to get drawn in by glossy pictures and promises of cinema sound at home. The problem is, a lot of those soundbars look amazing on the page but end up sounding flat, missing dialogue, or just not filling the room the way you imagined. I've seen the disappointment on my own movie nights. The explosions are loud, but the actors' lines become a mush of noise, and you're left reaching for the TV's built-in speakers anyway. That's why I'm tackling this review head-on, so you can figure out whether the Samsung Q950A actually lives up to the hype before you click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about why a soundbar matters for a typical living room. Most of us have TVs that are either 55 inches or larger, and the built-in speakers are designed for convenience, not for a true home theater experience. What you really need is a system that can separate dialogue from background effects, give you a sense of direction for the action, and still pack enough bass to feel those low-frequency punches without sounding tinny. The Samsung Q950A is marketed as an 11.1.4 channel setup with Dolby Atmos and DTS-X, promising a three-dimensional soundstage. The question is whether it delivers on those promises in a real apartment or a modest-size family room. I started by looking at how the system behaves in a medium-sized room about 12 feet by 15 feet, which is a common layout for many households. The main bar itself is about 4 feet long, sleek black, and sits right beneath the TV. The biggest surprise is the inclusion of two wireless rear speakers and a dedicated subwoofer, which together try to create that 11.1.4 environment. In practice, the rear speakers are easy enough to place on either side of the couch, but you quickly notice that they're more about adding a subtle ambient feel rather than delivering precise directional audio. For a blockbuster movie with a lot of overhead action, you'll hear the rain or helicopters as a gentle wash, but you won't pinpoint exactly where they're coming from. That's a limitation of the current Atmos implementation. It leans toward a wide room effect instead of true object-based tracking. Dialogue clarity is where the Q950A really shines. The bar incorporates a dedicated center channel, which isolates speech from the rest of the mix. When I watched a dialogue-heavy drama like The Crown, the actors' lines were crisp, even during scenes with heavy background music. The built-in Alexa voice assistant also helped because you can ask it to boost dialogue, and the system adjusts the EQ on the fly. This is handy for those watching late-night TV shows where you don't want to crank the volume to hear every word. Bass performance is another common worry. The separate subwoofer, a 10-inch unit, adds a noticeable punch, but it's not overwhelming. If you're a bass enthusiast who loves feeling every rumble from an action film, the sub will satisfy you in a regular living room. However, in larger, open-plan spaces, the bass can feel a bit thin. You might need to increase the volume to achieve that deep thump, and at higher levels the sub starts to sound a little boomy rather than tight. So, if you have a small to medium room, the subwoofer is a good match, but for a large home theater you might still need an additional powered sub. Connectivity is where Samsung tries to make the setup painless. The soundbar accepts HDMI-RC, or eARC on newer TVs, an optical cable, and even has a Bluetooth 5.0 option for streaming music from your phone. I tested the HDMI-RC connection with my 4K TV, and the sync was spot on, no lip sync issues, which is a relief because that can ruin an otherwise great audio experience. The Bluetooth stream had a decent latency for music listening, but if you're watching a movie, I'd stay with the wired connection. The remote control is a mixed bag. It's sleek but has a lot of buttons, and you can end up hunting for the Dolby Atmos toggle. Samsung's companion app, however, gives you a cleaner UI for switching modes, adjusting bass, or activating the game setting. Now, who should consider this soundbar? If you're a movie buff who wants a noticeable upgrade from TV speakers but don't want to dive into a full 7.1 or 9.1 speaker setup, the Q950A fits the bill nicely. It's also a good choice for families who watch a mix of TV shows, sports, and occasional gaming, because the dialogue boost and automatic game mode handle the different audio profiles without needing a lot of manual tweaking. People who already own a smart home hub might appreciate the built-in Alexa voice control, letting them adjust volume or switch inputs by voice alone. On the other side, if you're a hardcore audiophile looking for pinpoint surround positioning or an ultra-deep bass response, you might be left wanting more. The rear speakers are decent for ambient effects but won't replace dedicated surround speakers that sit behind you at ear level.